critical in some of these things. Yesterday, IPOA told the court that it was unable to identify Rex Masai's shooter and the weapon that was used. And they cited resources as the reason as to why they were unable to do this. So when you talk about if the government wanted to, it's not as though they don't have the mechanisms to do it. If they wanted to ensure that the justice that is being sought can actually be achieved, they could.
Yep.
So we're looking at a situation here where when there are mothers who cry, Kwamchetsi talks about those who are just starting their lives and are also the victims of these processes. Why wouldn't they? And does it not speak of then a larger problem, Kwamchetsi? Because this is what IPOA is telling you. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority is telling you that they are not able to identify one of their own who may have been culpable here. That's the justice that we seek. So who do you turn to?
I am going to say some things that are not safe.
Okay. This is a not safe space. Is that a thing? Okay.
I think this is failure by design, including IPOA. And I keep every day I wake up and I'm confronted by some of these issues. Yeah. I see a deliberate attempt to sabotage all the things that we've said, let us deal with institutionally. And I'll try a historical take. And the historical take is that compensation is trotted out as bait so that we can take the transitional justice conversation off the table. Historically, in 2015, then President Uhuru Kenyatta offered 6 billion shillings.
10
billion shillings. She corrects me. Of course, she was working very closely with all the victims. There were 10 billion shillings as compensation for all the historical injustices. I don't even know if that money has been paid. I remember one of the things that we were sort of trying to set down was, okay, this is not going to do anything for people who are survivors of sexual violence, rape, and sort of forced reproduction, because if you are put in a situation where you are sexually violated and you become pregnant and you give birth to a child, and there were children that you are sort of like dealing with, you got to raise that child, and they were not part of your plan.
Yeah. And
so we thought that the softer way would be just extend some grace and some assistance. So President makes this State of the Nation address. 10 billion shillings. I don't know a single victim who has received that money. Okay? Since that time, the Office of the Attorney General has been at the receiving end of almost, this is from former Attorney General Githu Muigai, almost about 100 billion shillings in awards by courts to victims of torture and other human rights violations. They haven't been paid. Those are court awards. They have not been paid. Very, very few have been paid. I have friends out there, survivors of all that violence, state violence. They haven't been paid. So when I see President saying, I'm receiving a report and we have put 2 billion aside, there's a part of me that wants to laugh cynically because I don't know a single victim who has received this money.
So are you saying that then with this 2 billion shillings that nobody's going to get it?
I am coming there. I'm like, I will believe it when I see a victim has received that money. Right? And the second thing that I would like to add to that is that let us also look at the merry-go-round that has also gone on around this compensation story. First, the president has very competent legal advisors. The former chair of my board, where I sit, is a transitional justice expert and is advising the president. And he knows the sequence. He knows this stuff better than me. And yet, what did they do? They appoint an illegal task force to create a compensation mechanism. By the time you're actually getting around and the court is correcting and saying, this is the correct way to do it, 1 year has been lost. By the time you actually finish, in fact, the ceremony at State House was not occurring in a vacuum. It occurred because a commissioner at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights say, we have finished the structure and the framework, but there is no money that has been provided. And so, we have to come back and say, even when you are making this sort of allocation, I want to take it a step further and say, actually, this is presidential abuse of power. Because if Mr. Ruto is the one who ordered those executions and that torture, this money should come out of his kitty. He has enough money. If he wants to put 2 billion shillings, this money should come out of his money. Because why are you and I, taxpayers, being made to pay for the trigger pulling by police officers on the orders of Ruto?
Oh, so that's where it's coming from.
And